Hello and welcome to Coder Radio. So this one's a little weird. It's a blast from the past. I think roughly 6 months ago, one of the original interview recordings that I thought was lost to the depths of editing hell. Thanks to the awesome folks who edit this, they were able to cut it back together, bring it back. And yeah, if I didn't tell you, I don't think you'd know that there was a problem. So this is a great interview. His name's Marc. He is the founder and developer of something called Aeroview, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous application logging system. You got to check out the website. It's aeroview.io. It's, I mean, one, if you know my style or, the aesthetics that I like with my stuff, immediately, this will appeal to me. Great integrations. I've actually been looking for something like this. I was a longtime Papertrail user. And I've tried a bunch of solutions. For the last couple of years, I've kind of been going it alone by, webhooks into Slack kind of thing, with a little bit of GitHub action love there if it's like a 500 create a ticket. Problem with that is I don't like the GitHub ticketing system very much. And lots of things can create a 500 multiple times and it'd be like the same issue over and over again, especially in early development. So this, I think, handles those problems in a nice way. It's got a bit of an AI hook, but I mean, I'm personally going to be checking it out. It was early days when I first spoke to Marc. Now they're quite a bit further along. So it looks pretty cool. I get nothing for this, by the way. This is just like an interview. He was a startup founder with a cool project. We chatted on LinkedIn. I was like, come on the show. So all good. I'm going to give you my normal PSA here. I know there's a lot going on in the hiring market. Join the Discord. Check the hiring channel. There's a lot of job posts there. Again, I don't get anything for this, but I do sometimes folks, especially like the larger companies that come on the show, will think, hey, we're hiring for this if you want to share it in your thing. So I do that. Other people have been posting jobs in the hiring channel. And it's just a bunch of cool people talking tech. This one's a little anachronistic because it was originally recorded, like I said, about 6 months ago. But I think it's still worth it. I think you'll enjoy it. And definitely check out Aeroview. Always check out alice.dev. I've got lots of cool stuff. Going to be a swanky promo video coming out, hopefully not too long after you hear this. All right, enjoy. Still running your business on last week's spreadsheets? Alice automates your data pipelines, connecting old systems to modern dashboards. Stop chasing data. Finally trust your numbers. Learn how at alice.dev. Okay, I'm here with Marc Weiner of Aeroview. Right? I got that right. See, this is the beauty of a second take. You can put the right accent on the wrong syllabus. He is also a New Jerseyan, so he's very familiar with closed bridges and things not working, which I think debugging problems is something we're going to talk about today. Am I right in that?
Absolutely.
All right. So real fast for the TLDR, for folks who have never heard of it, what is Aeroview?
Aeroview is a tool that helps developers, software developers, get the errors and the information out of their code that they're putting in. So, the process of coding, you're putting in what you may want to get out of it, right? And so, part of that is, maybe a product, but the other part of what you're doing is you're trying to get feedback from the system. Hey, is my code doing what I want it to be doing? How's it running? And hopefully that gives you useful information that you can then use to, improve it, make it better. And right now that's way too hard. The process is not really designed for developers. It's designed for, large corporations with, IT departments essentially. And so we want to put, the power back in the hands of developers and make that way easier without having to have a giant budget.
Awesome. So I should note that my company, The Mad Botter, is potentially going to be a customer of Aeroview. As a little disclosure, no corruption in podcasting.
No collusion.
No collusion. So what kind of information can it get out of, let's say, my giant microservices-based code base, which isn't really microservices, but...
Yeah, I mean, if you were microservices, it actually makes that much, much easier. So the very old way of doing it would be that you'd have some type of errors, let's just say, happen. And hopefully you get errors, because sometimes what happens is, something fails or it doesn't work the way you intend, but you don't get any errors out of it. That's the worst case scenario, because then you have to go and reverse engineer it and maybe modify the code to get more info out of it. But let's just say you do get an error. Right, exactly. Now let's just say you do get an error. Great. You have, a starting point, the trail is hot. And so how do you go and get that information? So the old way is you'd log into your server. We call it SSHing, right, into the server. And you'd have to, manually go in and look for those files because they would just be in a file somewhere, right? And then you read it back and it's all in plain text and it's not, very user friendly or very readable. And that's a very slow process. And it's also really not practical once you're really in the cloud. And so what's your next best option? Well, your next best option might be some built-in, system on the cloud provider. AWS has something called CloudWatch, but this is also kind of difficult to set up and use depending on what services you have running. And it's, again, not really designed for developers. It's kind of not really a premium product. Let's just say it's a great baseline. It's a great starting point, but it's not going to get you that that visual interface and the easy searching and and the contextual information that you really want. In addition to that, it'd be great to be able to plug AI into this to be able to analyze your stuff. And so that's kind of where Aeroview comes in, is that you could stream all this stuff directly to Aeroview from all the different servers. So whether you're running serverless or microservices, everything very easily just gets streamed to us. And then, we're going to present it to you in a beautiful interface that's incredibly fast. It's really just designed for your productivity. We want to 10x you. Businesses are expecting more from developers. It's a pretty challenging time to be a developer, but it's also, we've never had so many amazing tools to use to make us better. And so, this is what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to, give developers superpowers while at the same time improving the reliability of their code. So
awesome. So on a very high, SpaceX satellite of whatever 100,000 feet in the air view, what we're doing here is we're collecting basically logs and other information out of running applications.
Mm-hmm.
We're putting them in a nice UI, right? We're making them indexable and searchable, so you could, in theory, plug it into AI and filter out what you get, or push them to, let's say, Slack with a webhook, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Obviously, you built this for a reason, right? I think this is something very useful because I have lots of containerized applications running around that, in my case, integrate with tons of other services, and there's all kinds of errors, right? Rate limiting, connection, did a quick hiccup and
Yep.
reset the whole thing. Common one for me is users, crazy enterprise key to crazy enterprise software that we have to integrate with expires on a rolling basis and they didn't update it. Well, instead of getting the phone call and spending an hour or 2 hours searching for why the error happened when I have no real reason, I would know, because it'd be very accessible to me in my case in Slack, that, so-and-so's, I don't know, right? Like insert data lakes, the Snowflake key expired, for example, would be one.
Right.
You must have experienced some pain to dedicate the time and energy to making this tool, I imagine.
Big time. I felt the pain. I've been in the trenches. More than just that, I mean, my background is a bit interesting. So a lot of my software career has been in mission critical software or safety critical software. So, mission critical is like, okay, well, if this goes down, it could tank the company, right? Safety critical is if this goes down, people could die or at least get hurt. And so I've worked a fair bit in health tech. Actually, my first startup was a web-based electronic medical record application, one of the first web-based EMRs. And since worked on clinical trial software and even a rocket test stand, believe it or not, which is awesome, where things could blow up. But I've also worked a lot in startups. Startups, they'll move fast and break things, and it's a race against the clock with limited resources. Now, you might think that these are two like diametrically opposed forces, that you can't have both. But my first startup was the health tech startup, and the clinical trial software was also a startup. So there are, mission critical, safety critical startups, but also it turns out, and this is really interesting, that there's a strong overlap between building reliable stuff and building it quickly that people, I don't really think, fully understand or understand as well as they should. And so here's a couple of quick statistics for you, right? So developers spend up to half of their time debugging. So
Sounds
if we
about
could,
right.
if sounds reasonable. Now, if we could cut that down, not only would that be a tremendous savings and get you to market way faster. So now your startups are happy, your venture capitalists are dancing around, right? But you could also, if you're cutting down on the amount of time you're debugging, that means that you have less things to debug, generally speaking, and you're more confident about your software. And so, now the FDA is happy, and NTSB or, right, whatever.
Insert alphabet soup here. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you got jets falling down, you got cars crashing. I mean, this stuff is killing people, and it's doing it today, and it's been doing that, right? So, there's a number of reasons why this is needed. And so the other really interesting statistic here is that 92% of all catastrophic errors. This was a study done in, I think, 2020. 92% of all catastrophic system failures. So it's like worst case scenario, right, is a result of errors in the error handling paths themselves, meaning that it was actually a non-fatal error. So something happened, something expired, disconnected to something. These are recoverable errors. Maybe the system might be degraded, maybe it won't be fully operational, but it could still keep running and mostly serving requests, and it could handle it in a graceful way. But these errors are becoming fatal errors, these catastrophic errors, as a result of errors in the error handling paths themselves. So it's, errors in error handling, which is funny. It's like, well, how often do you test your error handling? Probably not very often.
Wild statistic. I never would have thought that. Wow.
It's pretty nuts. The first time I read that, I was shocked. And then I, did some more digging. I'm like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But, what I think is going on is this, right? As programmers, I mean, we have this whole move fast to break things thing with the startups, but even more established companies, I think, have this issue, which is that programmers don't, we don't find logging to be sexy. We don't find error handling to be sexy. It's just not something we think a lot about. And some of us maybe have a bit of an ego. I don't know, and we think that maybe our time could be better spent elsewhere, and that we're not going to make that many mistakes to begin with. I don't know why we might think that, but I think some of us do. And and so we don't really put that much effort into it. And I think part of the other problem, though, is that the tools right now on error handling are really not fun to use, and they're incredibly clunky, and going there is a pain in the butt anyway. So let's just not spend too much time there. It's kind of a worst case scenario type of situation when you got to go into that. So, my theory is this: if we can make these tools more accessible, more useful, more genuinely useful for developers by integrating AI, by making it incredibly quick and a shallower learning curve, maybe we might, spend a bit more time on that error handling, since we're getting that value out right away. And so, Aeroview is designed as a kind of a, we will get you, some type of productivity, and you'll see a return on that right away. But then you'll also see how, if you can invest a bit more of your time in it and make your errors better and more contextually useful, meaning put more information in there that might be useful, you'll get that benefit out, and you'll start to invest more and more, and your error handling will become way better. And as a result, your codes become more reliable, and you as a developer and as a company, as a team, will move way faster. So that's kind of our thesis.
Right, because if the tooling is hard to use, most devs are pretty damn lazy and just won't use it, is what it ultimately is going to come down to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's unfair to say that we're lazy. I think that a lot of us is expected of us, and we're going to try to prioritize our time where it makes the most sense.
Fair enough. I tend to be mean to us.
Yeah, me too. But I think that there's I think some of that can be attributed to just not seeing the value in it. And that's part of what we're trying to change. I do strongly believe that not only can this make software more reliable, especially, as we, give more and more responsibilities to it, but, that also help us, help our mental health. But debugging is actually hugely attributed to burnout, or burnout is attributed to having to be debugging. It's actually one of the things. Yeah. So, there's hopefully we could crack that nut. And, it's a feedback loop. These systems, all these processes, even the ones that go on in your brain, they're feedback loops, right? So if you can start to see the value in something and it's more easy, oh, hey, maybe I'll care more about this. And it just gets better and better and better over time.
Awesome. Okay, so let's say I'm interested, right? I'm a developer at some organization. I'm responsible for maintaining this pain in the butt app that, has all kinds, it's huge, right? Has all kinds of issues, all kinds of errors. We're on AWS. How do I start? What's my, other than like signing up for the demo and the beta and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to do anything to my application, or what am I doing?
Yeah, so it depends. So if you're on AWS and you're already on CloudWatch, which is kind of like their default thing. So if you're on Lambda, if you're automatically on CloudWatch, there's a good chance you might already be on it. If that's the case, we could do everything on our end completely automated. So you just,
Really?
you just create an account. You click, add your AWS account. You put in your information. You click one button to give us the permissions that we need to read from your account and create the proper resources. And that's really it. And then you just select the log groups, which is, what are the, what apps do you want to be monitoring? You have a choice of, whatever ones you want. And then we automatically handle everything else. We'll create the proper resources and just subscribe to those log groups and just stack that information out in real time.
So it's that simple.
That's the idea. Yeah, the idea is to make it as easy as possible, because this was previously very difficult. Now, if you're not on it on CloudWatch, we have other options as well. We're also working on currently launching for any platform, so not tied to AWS, but we do have a very tight integration with AWS. So I think AWS might be the only one that we really do a deep dive in and really tightly integrate like that. And so for the other ones, maybe we won't have as much of a white glove service. We'll see. That's to be determined.
Yeah, I would also probably argue you don't need to, right? Folks who are, let's say, I don't know, for example, right, running their own services in Docker containers on vanilla Linux boxes probably are comfortable kind of configuring things themselves.
Yeah, that's a good theory.
It's a theory.
Possible.
Maybe it's wrong. It could be wrong. So, okay, the Lambda angle is super interesting to me, because I know for a fact we have a lot of folks who, particularly kind of on the enterprise side, are spinning up little Lambda instances. Is that what they call them?
They call them functions. I don't know.
That's right. But the whole serverless thing, they have different names. Whatever. They're spinning
it's all an illusion.
Right. It's
serverless is an illusion.
Yeah. But I know for convenience, right? A lot of folks that listen are using it, and being able to just automatically, with a couple clicks, be able to get all those logs, all that telemetry seems really tempting.
Absolutely. So Lambda, again, is like one of those things that we're deeply integrating with, that we're going a little extra, a little above and beyond, and we're looking at the output from Lambda and custom tailoring this to really be very seamless. Again, I don't know if we're going to be able to dig so deep with every service out there, but these are the ones that that we've used a lot, and that we see a lot of friction with, and a lot of people are on Amazon. So
I would say AWS
like, this is a good place. Yeah.
Right. It's the Titan in the space. So you may as
right. And I'm not sure. I'm just not sure if I'm masochist enough to do this for Azure.
I have several customers in Azure, and how much do you hate yourself? That's the question you have to ask.
Exactly. I'm not sure.
God, Azure. I mean, it's a lot better than it was, and they really have embraced a lot of the Linux stuff. But I just, what it is? I don't like this. And sorry for the diversion.
Go for it. No, it's all good.
The way they've laid out their console or dashboard or whatever Azure calls it a console, is mind-bending to me. I don't like. I use Do, I use Linode or Linode, depending on where you're from.
I think it's Linode.
AWS a little, right? And most of my stuff is just containerized. Containerized on Ubuntu, right? Docker containers. Yeah, on Azure, just finding where the instance is takes me like 10 minutes, because I don't understand the layout, and it's constantly changing every time I log in there. It seems like, never mind. This is not my bitching to the Azure MVP section. So, but I use it a lot for
I don't know.
customers, and I just don't care for it that much. It's fine. It works.
Yeah. It's really curious, right? Because I feel like, Microsoft has put out some really good stuff, and they clearly have the potential, like they have the ability to do it. And I mean, they created TypeScript, my favorite programming language pretty much in the world. It's awesome.
Really? Oh, wait. Let's go down this path.
Oh, okay.
Why? Okay, so now, no, why? Just in your words, why is TypeScript?
Why TypeScript? Because I think that type theory is the answer, or part of the answer. I think there's a lot of different, tools and technologies and methodologies that you'd want to use. But I think that type theory in general is a massive part of the programming answer to how do we make code, more reliable and cheaper, right? There's been this idea, or this concept of the software crisis. And this stuff goes all the way back to the 60s. Computers were starting to become more powerful. We're using them, starting to use them at big businesses. We have these IBM mainframes and things like that. And we're mostly coding in Fortran and COBOL. And there starts to become an issue, which is that as these programs get bigger, as we expect more from it, they start to become exponentially more expensive and have exponentially more bugs, way more unreliable. And so this is dubbed the Great Software Crisis. And there just they couldn't crack it. No matter what, every single software project that had any type of scope at all to it, so anything enterprise, right, is going to blow past their deadlines. They're going to miss deadlines. They're going to blow past their budgets. And it's just, this was a huge problem. These are industries that are used to doing things in very waterfall, very planned out methods, and I think are generally pretty good at hitting their targets. And with software, they just didn't know how to do it. They didn't understand it. What the hell's going on? And I think to a large extent, we're still in that crisis now. I think that some people maybe stopped using the term maybe in the 80s. And I think that part of that, is, certain tools. I think Java was a part of helping with that. I'll have to give Java credit. This is the only time I will ever give Java credit for anything. It did introduce types, and C++ had some types as well. Even C, I guess, did, but but getting more into that direction, you're allowing the developers to have more structure and to be able to kind of have a bit more control as to, is this right? So really the question is, when you press compile or when you press run, will it run before you have to run it? If you could turn your runtime errors to compile time errors, and predict the future, right, you're going to be saving yourself so much effort, so much time, so much headaches, and having more confidence will be reliable. And so, this whole concept of software engineering is really all about doing that. That's what software engineering is about. It's about cutting out the busy work, cutting out the debugging, removing a lot of the doubt from the equation and increasing your confidence and making things faster. Just like any other engineering discipline, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, you could do this stuff without an engineering degree. You could build a bridge. If you had the knack to build stuff, you could design and build a bridge without a degree, and probably not legally, right? But you could do it, and it'd probably work. But it'll have to be way overbuilt. It'll have to be, very robust, like the old bridges that we made in like the 1900s or 1800s. Right. You could do it, but it won't be.
Supports, for good.
It won't be economical, right? It's not gonna be the most efficient bridge. And so, what an engineering degree allows you to do is it allows you to build a bridge that will kill the fewest number of people for the least amount of money. And software engineering is kind of similar, right? And so again, you could build these apps without TypeScript, without type theory. You could do it all in Python. Have fun. Or Ruby. Not to kick Python too much. Uh-oh, shots fired.
That's all right. Listen, I'm an old Objective-C hand, so that language it's bizarre.
It's weird, but Objective-C, I actually, other than its syntax and how verbose it was, thought it was fine. I thought it was a great language. Look what it did for Apple.
You don't enjoy a function being basically an English paragraph that you just read? I like it. I really do. I like the weird way it puts the variables in line with.
I don't remember it that well. I kind of blocked it out. I did some iOS for a bit and blocked it out. But look, it better than a lot of other things. I think it's certainly better than just writing it in C.
Oh, for sure.
So not that I don't still love writing in C, and there's a time and a place to do that, but it's that's the thing. So that's why I mean, TypeScript, obviously, like JavaScript, you could talk trash about JavaScript all you want. It has its good parts and its bad parts, just like any other language. And
you can't escape JavaScript or TypeScript, right? You can't.
Well, yeah,
you're always going to need it. One of them, at least, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying JavaScript is my favorite language. I think there's a lot I really do like about it. Some I don't. But for better or worse, that's the language of the web, and so we're kind of stuck with it for now. But I could imagine TypeScript for other languages. I can imagine TypeScript for I think goes pretty good with generics and types. They're getting more and more of it. I think they're maybe borrowing some from TypeScript even. I don't know. It goes pretty good. But I see other languages adopting these concepts, whether they took it from TypeScript or just type theory in general or some other language. I don't know. But I'm not like what's the word? Someone who studies languages, except they're computer languages. So I don't know if that still would apply.
Yeah, I wonder. Linguistics for computers. That would be.
I don't know. I'm not that kind of nerd. Well, maybe I am. But basically, the idea of being able to you're really not even taking that much more time to do it is the thing. Like once you get good at it, you think in types before you even write your code. And I think that's the right way to do it, and if you could just do more of that, I mean, this is why Rust is such a big deal, because it's not just type theory that they're, bringing in this type stuff, but also they're bringing in the concept of ownership over memory and, so that you don't have these race conditions and, null pointer exceptions and things like that. And, again, there's maybe some parts to Rust that maybe could be better as well. And no language is perfect, but the idea of it, I think, is absolutely rock solid and is very, deeply rooted in engineering principles. So that's why
I love it. I think that's a great place to leave it in terms of languages. So I always have one question I ask everybody, and it's a question with rules, conditions. Okay.
Okay.
What is your favorite tool, right? A tool you cannot live without. It cannot be your own tool. And it could be anything, though, right? It doesn't have to be dev related. It could be your espresso machine or your French press, for example.
Oh, geez. Good question. I mean, can I cheat and pick two?
Oh,
because one's a throwaway. I think one's a throwaway right now. Everyone's going to pick this one. ChatGPT. ChatGPT.
Yeah,
I have to.
I don't think that counts. All right, fine.
Yeah, that doesn't count because it's just too good. I mean, as much as I'm scared of it, it's so good.
All right, give me your non-ChatGPT one then.
Non-ChatGPT. Oh, geez, I don't even know. I mean, what counts as a tool? All of Linux. I don't know.
All of Linux. The Linux kernel.
The Linux kernel. Yeah, let's go with that.
That you were the first person to take such a broad perspective, but I like it.
I'm a systems thinker. What do you want?
Like the kernel that runs everything. Yeah, that I guess
exactly.
Now that one,
I'll take Linus. He's my favorite tool.
Linus, he's my favorite mail list guy. That man knows how to reply to mail list. All right, so we're gonna have links to everything in the show notes. And Mark, if there's anywhere else you want me to send people, please let me know. But where right now, someone listening, where could they follow you on the socials, Aeroview, all that?
Yeah, so if they want to sign up for the beta or just want to keep up to date on this until we launch, they can go to aeroview.io. That's Aeroview, all one word, .io. And if they want to follow me, right now I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so they could go to linkedin.com/in/MH Weiner, MHWEINER. That's kind of where I'm at the moment. We'll be launching a blog at some point, but that's it for now.
Awesome, and we'll put that in the show notes. Marc, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right, have a great day.